My girlfriend wants to share our income. The thing is, I make roughly 7 times as much. Advice, please. So here's the deal. Me and my girlfriend have been together for a little under 3 years and have been living together for a few months. My girlfriend takes college classes and works part-time. I finished college 2 years ago, quickly got hired by the company I did my internship at, and within a year, I got a promotion and a large pay rise, and I am now making roughly $150K a year, while she makes $20K a year. She moved in with me a few months ago in the place that I bought, so I pay nearly all costs, mortgage, electricity, water, etc. The only things she pays herself are non-essentials like Spotify, phone bill, Netflix, and so forth. Recently, we got into a huge fight where she demanded that we pool our money together and spend what is left after essential costs together, whereas currently, I pay basically every essential and my own crap, use a bit to enjoy myself, and put the rest into my savings. She seems to be jealous that I got a lot more to spend, which is not really true since after monthly costs, I put the majority in my savings account. In my eyes, she already gets an easy ride, and honestly, she's just crap with money that she does have. She spends it on crap like stupidly expensive clothes, and then complains she's broke at the end of the month. So what do? I hate to put money in the way of our relationship, but if I'm honest, I'm questioning my relationship, as there is no way that I'm going to let her essentially spend my salary on stupid crap. Whoa, marky relationship advice when I've not been in a relationship for God knows how long. This strikes me as something that needs a third-party intermediary to really get both of you guys on the same level here. Personally, I am on your side in this situation, and I don't think that it would be fair to share the costs when there's such a disparity between the two of you. In this case, I think she needs more education on how to be frugal and save your money and not give in to just spending when you feel like it, which will be a gateway into understanding you and why you're frustrated in this situation because you feel as though she's not on your level when it comes to finances. For a lot of people, these issues are make or break, I believe, and I don't think you're wrong for wanting to find a way around this. And as you say at the end there, you hate to put money in the way of your relationship, you're questioning your relationship, and I don't think that there are ways around this if the other person isn't willing to work with you. Now, down to some comments. She wants to spend the rest? 60K? Dude. Girlfriend, there is no way I'm going to pool money with you because you're not responsible with your own money, let alone with mine. I already pay your expenses and am not going to sacrifice more money so you can spend more. Financial responsibility is important to me, and I hope you start making it important to you as well. I think that if you can't trust her to spend your money responsibly, you can't marry her, at which point I'm not sure that you should be dating her. Like, at some point in a relationship, things merge. You move in together, you start to share finances, housework, child responsibilities if you have them, and if you don't think that you can share that kind of stuff, it's probably not the right relationship. I make more than my girlfriend, but we still have a shared bank account, and I can trust that she's going to be frugal because she knows how I feel about wasting money. If that's the kind of thing that matters to you, you have to find someone that it matters to. I will say, it doesn't have to merge that way. Some people are just bad with money, and some are particularly good with it, and some couples are both good but disagree about certain things. I've got a finance degree, so I'd be fine taking my partner's money and managing it. I'd feel much less comfortable with them managing mine, even if they aren't bad at it. Couples don't have to completely merge accounts to have a functional relationship. You can have accounts that you share that bills are paid out of, and individual accounts that you don't share. No. And for heaven's sake, make her sign a prenup. It's for your protection and for hers. And OP says, not nearly at the level of marriage yet, so no worries there. If you are not near the level of marriage being a real possibility, then there is no reason to pool income. Even after marriage, she's not entitled to your money. The fact that you pay all necessary expenses is much better than the dynamic in some relationships. Although after 3 years, if you don't seriously consider this relationship moving towards marriage, then you may want to really evaluate the relationship as a whole. And OP says, Marriage is simply not an option in my mind until I reach the period in my life where I want children, and I am sure I can properly provide for said children presently and in the future. I am a bit of a planner type, I suppose. I don't want to jump into marriage, have a bunch of kids, and then not be able to fully provide for them. Dude, when you have kids and are making $100K plus a year, what you'd be worried about is sleep, not money. Back up to the post, we have an edit. So, there are so many comments, I'm having a hard time keeping up with it. If I don't respond, know that I'm trying to at least read your comment, but currently, when I read and respond to one comment, I get 10 more. I just want to thank everyone for their responses, from the ones who yell gold digger to the ones who take a middle ground approach. Even those who yell about men go their own way or something, and those who are of the opinion that I need to give her all my money because of a pink tax or something, all advice is appreciated and gives me an extra light to view this in. I had not expected my post to blow up like this though. Alright, and now onto the update. So I figured, since the post sort of blew up 3 weeks ago, and people requested me make an update to tell them what I ended up doing, here goes. In the shortest way possible, I ended up breaking up with her. I realized in part, thanks to some good advice I had gotten, there was more that was bothering me other than the financial part. The thing is, when thinking to myself in the next few days, I felt myself combing over every little detail of our relationship, and quickly I realized I was putting in way more than what I got back. No, I'm not saying I am some perfect saint, but I do think that I deserve someone who appreciates what I already do, especially when what I already do so vastly outweighs what she did in our relationship. Also, a big one was the apparent maturity gap between the two of us, which I overlooked with my rose-tinted in-love glasses. Whereas I have changed as a person from who I was when we started dating, she's still pretty much the same identical person, and without trying to badmouth her, that's a person you can be without any issues when you're between 15 and 20, not when you're in a committed relationship, thinking about having kids at some point, managing your own finances, and planning for the future. And that brings me to the largest issue here: planning. I am a planner. I look out for the future. I'm not opposed to wasting some money to do fun stuff while I'm young, but I don't want to risk ending up broke and unhappy when I'm older because I refuse to get serious in my youth. And this is where our personal views seem to clash to an extent where the good no longer outweighs the bad. She constantly lives in the moment, spends what she can spend, and is sort of used to an easy ride, where the biggest things she ever has to worry about are her grades. But for me, I have faced financial issues since I was young, so I know the value of money, and I know that planning can spare you a lot of hurt. I am not saying either of our views are superior or better. I am saying when you are supposed to be a partnership, but you wildly differ on the most basic foundations of that partnership, there is not much hope. As a result, I realized I did not see myself getting more committed to her, which means you sort of hit a roadblock in your relationship. I mean, I'm not a fan of marriage from the get-go, but after such a long time, if you're not even remotely considering it, there is probably a larger issue. This argument about finances brought up a whole load of other issues for me, and honestly, I sort of started to dread what, in my mind, looked like me being expected to fund a lifestyle that I, from the ground up, do not agree with. I realized I was losing my own self-worth by accepting this sort of stuff, and I realized that the fact that we had an argument about my money and her demanding to spend half of it made me feel like a glorified ATM. Now, the breakup was really messy, and her dad was a rock during the entire thing. He calmed the situation down a lot despite him really hating what was happening, but I think he understood. I can't say I'm not gutted about all of this. After all, this is someone that I was with for roughly 3 years, and getting used to not having her or her family, who I was really close to, is difficult. But in the end, after the initial dust settled, I sort of feel liberated and a lot happier than I did a few weeks ago. I wish her nothing but the best in the future, and I know it has to be without me. As for me, I sort of feel like I get to start over. Hopefully find someone a lot more suited to me in the future, but I won't be actively looking for. As for me, honestly, being single after such a long time in a relationship feels nice. I get to focus what little free time I have on myself, which is something I've not been able to do for a long time. I get to indulge in my hobbies properly, and so forth. Anyhow, I want to thank everyone for their advice, and if I was rude to anyone, I'm sorry, but at the time, I was in a shitty emotional position. But I am doing a lot better now. So whether you figured that I was a douche and completely disagreed with me, or whether you think I was a good fella and figured that I was right, or somehow went on the extremes or in the middle, thank you for your advice. And now in the comments, I would also like to share incomes with you. And OP says, ha, you and many others I think, given the private chats I got. No, I just hadn't finished reading it yet. Seriously though, I could understand giving her a small allowance if her money is going towards some of the essentials. Hopefully the leftovers are going to savings. And no way put her name on anything like a shared bank account. I'm a woman, and I can see how unfair this could be. I can see maybe after you're married sharing some extra money, but good lord, she doesn't need access to everything left over. And OP says, yeah, I mean, I was not opposed to being the breadwinner in the future, but just to spend it? Nope. I'm glad to read this update. You seem smart and kind, but without being a pushover. You'll be fine and will find someone with the same goals as you. Good luck. And OP says, thanks. I was a bit of a pushover though. I'm just glad that I realized it so I can work on it. OP did the right thing. He was already paying for almost everything, and it's pretty clear that she felt entitled to his money. She has a lot of maturing to do. I can't imagine having such an expectation pre-marriage and babies. And OP is very, very lucky to have escaped before any accidents happened in relation to birth control. It's kinda crazy to think about how much maturity levels can differ in just a 3-year age gap. But adulthood really does smack you that hard in the face after you graduate college. I'm sure in 3 years, OP's girlfriend will have a very different approach to money and spending once she's out of school and in the real world too. That is why I always shake my head about all these marriages between people in their early 20s that I read about on r/AmITheArsehole and relationship advice. That's too young to make this serious a commitment to someone. Everyone that I know that got married around that age are all divorced and on their second marriages. Of course, it does work out for some people, I just don't know any. She didn't have to pay any bills, except for stuff like Spotify and phone. She essentially already had over $1,000 a month of free spending money from her own $20K a year job. That's quite a lot, right? I don't know the value of $1/living expenses, but $1,000 would be around 900 euros, which is quite a lot to have as monthly pocket money with no other obligations. There's no point to this comment, I'm just boggling at people having that amount of spending money and thinking they need more. I thought the same thing. That girl had a great deal. Minimum expenses and got to keep virtually her entire income as spending money. That's fantastic. If I was her, I would have been playing trophy wife hard. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she needed professional help and making my girlfriend uncomfortable? My girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years. For the past year though, we kept having some issues. One of those issues being posting on social media. She has a problem with me posting anything, which I rarely do anyway, and when I do it's a meme, my cat, or art. Well, every time I did post something, she ended up upset and wouldn't even tell me why she's upset, even if I ask her multiple times throughout the day. I'm trying to be patient with her considering she's struggling with BPD and other issues, but I do too, and I feel like she expects me to fix her issues for her. When she finally tells me what the problem is, it is after a mental breakdown. Well, last time it happened, I posted some random art I found. She was asleep all day since she's struggling to sleep at night, and when she woke up, she was upset again. I kept asking her what upset her, and she only said, "I don't know," every time. After about 3 hours, she finally told her I made her uncomfortable with my post and said it's weird that I post in the first place. Kept asking why I do that and who do I want to see it. I told her I didn't do anything wrong, and I can post if I want to, and I don't need a reason to post something if I like it. That's when she actually got annoyed and told me I was mean to her, didn't consider how she felt, and invalidated her feelings. She also said I neglected her because I didn't show it to her and posted it instead. I explained that I didn't show it because she was asleep, and every time I did, she ignored it and changed the subject to whatever she wanted to talk about. I also said if she didn't like it so much, she should have said something in the beginning of our relationship, not a year later, and that I won't be changing it. At this point, she got really defensive and told me I was horrible and that I made her uncomfortable. Not gonna lie, this upset me, so I ended up saying she was being controlling and needed professional help for this massive reaction, and I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells because a stupid post makes her uncomfortable and she expects me to change everything because of her issues. I told her I tried to help as much as I can and reassure her, but I am also not in a good place and she can't expect me to enable controlling behavior. I did apologize after this because I didn't deliver it the right way, but I also don't think I did something wrong for her to react the way she did, and I don't think I can handle this type of reaction every time she doesn't like something. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I don't think my tone was very nice, as I was really upset by her reaction. Also, might have been too harsh saying what I ended up saying. Maybe I'm the asshole for snapping at her. OP, all of this that you've just said is so overwhelming for me. I can't deal with this relationship, and I'm not even in it. It's obvious you're trying to communicate and be fair about these issues with her, but it seems like she's throwing issue after miscommunication, after antagonizing point after I don't want to talk about it. You should know what I'm thinking. I am getting stressed reading this. I wouldn't stay in this relationship. I don't think you're the asshole, so not the asshole. And now in the comments, not the asshole. But you'll need to break up and live separately, at least until she seeks treatment. BPD is one of those illnesses that the person suffering from it can ignore for years if they want, but the people living around them pay the price. That is not true. When it's feeling like hell for the people around, imagine what it feels like inside this person's head. Constant emotional chaos and no clue what to feel or why you feel so strongly. Always questioning why you can't keep friends or partners around even though it's your worst fear being left alone. Struggling to the point that you think there is no way out and life isn't worth it anyways. And edit, I agree with your first statement about breaking up though. As someone who suffers from BPD, yes it is. Yes, I struggled, but I also totally ignored how toxic I was until I got help. And those around me paid the price. Not the asshole. As someone whose ex was extremely emotionally and mentally abusive and manipulative, I'd suggest you rethink the relationship. I understand that this might not be what you want to hear, but she obviously has no plans to change and is putting highly unrealistic expectations on you by hoping you can fix her. She needs professional help and support that you are unable to give her, and my advice is that you do what's best to protect yourself and your own mental health. If you do not want to leave her, that's fine, but you need to start putting up stronger boundaries with her to protect yourself. Not the asshole. An explanation is not an excuse. Her struggle with BPD is valid and does need professional help. While people dealing with mental health problems absolutely deserve love, support, and lots of patience, they need to take action for treatment as well. As tough as it is for her, this is clearly taxing for you too. You posting online is totally normal, and the only time you need permission is if you are posting other people/private info. And with that, let's go to the update. Short answer, I broke up with her. She got therapy and seemed to be understanding at first, but then it all got so much worse. She started ignoring me. When called out on her toxic behavior, called me names, and the last argument, which was 1 week ago, she ended up screaming at me, calling me a bitch countless times, said, "Shut your filthy mouth, you little bee," and that's where it all broke out. Didn't speak to her for a week, and then I just had to leave. My mental health is ruined, and that's an understatement, and I'm also pretty sure she cheated on me. I don't know what to think of it anymore. Many of you suggested I should leave, and you were right. I should have left a long time ago. I tried to talk to her, but she won't hear anything but her own made-up scenarios. I tried suggesting going to therapy with her, as many of you advised me to do. It worked for a couple of days, but I guess it's pointless. Thanks everyone for your support and kind comments. Thank you for your advice and for reaching out to me. At least I know I wasn't crazy for thinking she was extremely abusive, but of course she'll never admit it. And now in the comments, hey, I went through something similar with my girlfriend, and let me tell you right now that the only person who can make her get help is her. You tried, and as someone who did this song and dance, you were lucky you got out when you did. I'm sorry, sweetie. I know how absolutely horrible it feels, especially when it feels like it's not their fault because they are sick. But they have to choose, and she chose this. I promise you, you will survive this, and you will be so much stronger for it. It hurts now. It's supposed to hurt, but it will make you better for your next relationship and for whomever it may be with. Good luck, and I hope you feel better soon. Having the courage to leave a toxic situation can be hard. Speaking as someone who had to walk away from my own toxic relationship, I know that it can be scary and lonely. I don't know about you, but I still felt lighter for doing so, even with the loneliness. I hope that you are taking the time to heal and that you remember to be gentle to yourself. Dude, I went through something super similar with my ex. I told her she needed therapy because she was faking multiple illnesses and lying about things. And then when we broke up, it all blew the F apart. She had been lying about way more than I originally thought, manipulated everyone around her, sexually harassed our neighbor, and tried to cheat on me with him, stole her old friend's life story and sold it as her own for sympathy, and who knows what else. She told people that I was trying to use Homeland Security to assassinate her, stole my effing dog and multiple other things, and then fled the state, and now has been stalking me for a year after. It's been a wild ride. Here is my advice. Block this girl and all her associates and family on everything you own. Email, Snapchat, Discord, etc. Everything and anything. Don't make it possible for you to give in and talk to her again, or for her to just scream at you more. You don't need that. Change passwords for everything you ever shared or anything you wouldn't be okay getting taken over by her. Delete all photos of her unless they are super important for some reason. Consider therapy yourself. It's good for everyone, and it sounds like someone to talk about managing your stress about this situation could help. If she keeps contacting you to call you names, even though you've blocked her, private all social media in case she makes new accounts or gets her friends and family involved. If she really won't leave you alone after that, delete social media and get a new phone number. I have no idea if it'll get to that point, but it's good to know. Our next post is titled, "Today I messed up by leaving after my girlfriend told me she loved me during sex. First of all, I know I screwed up and I need to fix it. I, 28 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 24 female, exclusively for 8 months. I asked her officially to be my girlfriend about a week ago, the last day of a vacation trip. We hadn't had sex yet, as she wanted to be in an established relationship first, which we talked about early on, and I 100% respected that. This girl, man, is different. Sex was, of course, on my mind. She's beautiful, but I would have waited as long as it took if it meant her being comfortable. Well, we had got wasted that night, had a flight early AM, and had a week-long work trip literally right after, so it didn't happen. Anyways, I get back, got to her apartment, long story short, she initiates sex. First I want to emphasize, I love this woman. I've known that for months now. She's made me a better man. Neither of us come from the greatest environment, and I'm a lot rougher and guarded. She's been through hell, but remains so calm, soft, and optimistic. She's taught me those things. I've made it my priority since I met her to take care of her and put her first. But still, she shows me that love and care comes first over financial. I didn't expect our first time to be emotional for me. I'm the type of guy who has never really been in a serious relationship and, quite frankly, was a hoe that had calmed down before meeting her. She had been celibate for 3 years. Sex had been a touchy topic for her due to trauma. She had not told me any specifics aside from that, and we had that conversation maybe a month or 2 ago. It solidified me wanting to be careful with her. Anyways, we get into it. The foreplay is very passionate and intimate. Gets a bit graphic from here. And as I'm about to enter her, we were just staring at one another, and I was in awe that this is my woman. I asked her if she's okay, and she kissed me and told me she loved me for the first time. I froze. Literally. I was already on the verge of tears, honestly, and for a split second, I had doubted if this was right. I had an instantaneous fear of hurting her emotionally. I have no idea why. And I stopped. I got soft and had to get up and excuse myself. I came back and she seemed so worried, and dude, I just didn't know what to do with my emotions. I told her I had to leave, and I left. She has not answered any of the texts, calls, or anything. It's been a full 24 hours at this point, and I feel horrible. And now in the comments, for the love of God, ignore everyone saying send her a link to this post. Sorry that in the most vulnerable and intimate moment of your life, I responded in the worst possible way and ran away, leaving you scared, alone, and questioning everything, validating the trauma that you'd worked so hard to overcome. But look, while I was trying to call you, I told 17 million people on Reddit about this, the worst moment of your life, and they said I should apologize and wished me luck. This is heartbreaking. I don't know how I would react if this happened to me. This is one of those times I don't think anybody does. I went through something similar with this, except he just ignored me when I said I love you. He asked me out 2 years after we broke up, tried to have sex with me, and then didn't see me again after I didn't sleep with him, just for him to ask out another girl and go official with her a month later. It took me a ton of therapy to fix the emotional damage he did to me, and I honestly think he gives zero crap about what he did. I will say dating someone else who has been emotionally open with me has been the most healing part of it all. My boyfriend loves me and isn't afraid to show me, and it's changed everything for me. She won't respond to my text or calls? Yeah, no crap. She let her guard down in a very intimate moment, and you ran. Now you are hiding behind a screen. In her mind, you find it easy to run and hide from her, but hard to go to her and talk. If the same situation happened, but the opposite way around, would you rather her try to text or call? Or would you rather her make the effort to at least talk to you in person? Good luck, and I hope everything works out. And OP says, man, I understand, but I am not having a hard time trying to talk to her. I will literally drive to her house right now. I just want advice on the appropriate way to do it. Going to someone's job/house unannounced, especially if it isn't welcomed, is not the message I want to send. I want to talk to her in person, but I want to be certain it doesn't come across as demanding if she isn't responding currently. Yeah, I get that point. Take flowers and a letter, write down everything you want to say in person. If she doesn't want to talk right now, leave the flowers and letter, and it will show that you want to fix it better than a text. A handwritten letter is better than font on a screen. You clearly love this woman, and I wish you the best of luck. Also, sorry if I came across as a dick in my previous comment. And OP says, not at all. I understand people wanting to give their perspective, but I appreciate your comment. The biggest takeaway is not to reach out solely over the phone, which I had been doing. Literally ordering flowers as we speak, and will visit her in person tomorrow. I know she's off from work then. And now on to the update. Firstly, thank you for all of your comments. Very few of you were actually pretty rude, but I suppose that comes with the territory of Reddit. Glad to say I can relay a huge F you to those telling me I had no chance. To everyone else, you all made me realize that in person was better, and soon is ideal. I went to her ASAP, and here is what happened. Despite my long-winded posts, I am not a man of many words. Throughout our entire relationship, I tried my hardest to compensate with my actions. That obviously bit me in the ass when my actions did not align with my heart. I had to put my initial demeanor aside and pour my all into her audibly, and I did just that. Not sure how detailed I should be. I went to her apartment and she answered, not expecting it to be me. I've told her about answering the door and not knowing who it is, but that's neither here nor there right now. She was hesitant to let me in, but after pleading, she allowed it. I was overcome with emotion so much, so no words were coming out. Call me what you want, but I got to my knees in front of this woman and told her how I felt, how much she meant to me, how hard it was for me to be so open and vulnerable, and that I hadn't realized this until that night. My girl is very great at facilitating an open environment for communication, so this is by no means a reflection of her, but a testament to my upbringing. For context, both my girl and I come from abusive households. That reveals itself to her in her ways, though she handles it with grace and great consideration for others, whereas mine is very avoidant and closed off. Since a child, I never felt like a woman would truly love me based on what was instilled in me by my mother. We've had this conversation before, and she's aware of this. I'm currently in therapy, but I didn't expect to react that way once I'm in the presence of a woman who does in fact love me. I told her and reiterated that I will go through hell and high water to acknowledge my inner conflicts, not only for myself but for her. I emphasized I will also do this so I can show up for her emotionally and never to leave her in a vulnerable state again. I apologized and teared up and apologized some more. She just listened, crying, but listened. She knelt down to me and, unbelievably, this woman said verbatim, "I understand. Our actions are never a reflection of others, but of the relationship we have with ourselves." And she told me how she felt. Confused, hurt, and betrayed. Hearing that destroyed me, but she also reassured me that she knew who I was as a man and believed me to be genuine. She also threw in that if that crap happened again, I'd have no access to her, and she is her own priority above anyone else. Trust me, I will not be calling her bluff. She is very sure of herself, and I'm surprised she even let me in. She kissed me, thanked me for my honesty, and told me it was okay to cry. Man, I've always been told as a man I am less than for showing emotion. I never felt so open and comfortable, not even with my longtime friends. Nonetheless, I wanted to be sure that I was the one comforting her and not the other way around. I asked her what I can do, and well, we finished what we started. I made love to my woman for the first time. In the AM, I got us breakfast, making sure to leave a note so she wasn't caught off guard if she woke up and saw that I wasn't there. I'm going to marry this girl, do right by her and myself. She's going to be the mother of my children when the time is right, mark my words. Coming from a man who didn't see any of this for myself just a year ago, she really changed me for the better. I also want to note that, though my girlfriend nurtures me in this way, she does not mother me. I know there's a rhetoric of women building a man, and she's 100% facilitating my growth, but I am a grown man responsible for my actions and will make the effort to be better on my own. I do not want to paint her as weak for giving me a second chance like some of you have insinuated. Her support was and is something I will be grateful for forever. Also, I did end up showing her this post, and we laughed at a few comments. And what would you know? The girlfriend responds and says, "Girlfriend here, hi. With work, we are all capable of reaching the healthiest version of ourselves. This moment is not a mirror of our relationship, but a marker to my boyfriend's growth. If I can say anything to help anyone, I urge everyone to reach out to those you love and do better, not only for them, but for yourselves. We are not to blame for our traumas, but we are responsible for how they show up in our actions. Much love." And on that note, I'm not responding to nasty comments. Some of you are projecting and looking to tear a man down. I got my lady, and thanks everyone. And now in the comments, I'm glad to hear the outcome of this. I will say, however, that this kind of emotional and mental work is difficult, and if you get complacent, it is easy to go back to how it was. I see a lot of your mentality reflected in my own boyfriend, and his past emotional immaturity, for lack of a better phrase, has hurt me deeply in ways I didn't know that I could hurt. If you want to keep this woman in your life, you must be dedicated to bettering yourself. And OP replies, "Complacent, it is so easy to go back to how it was." Absolutely. I'm working on this for myself, most importantly, but definitely for her as well. Lovely to see a couple, each carrying trauma from their childhood, recognizing and supporting each other's healing and growth. I wish them the best. Am I the asshole for trying to get rid of my boyfriend's dog? So my boyfriend's brother passed away about a month ago. He had a dog, a bull terrier named Cat. The dog was staying with boyfriend's mother during her bereavement leave. My boyfriend loves this dog. I'm not a dog person, but I can tolerate her. She's not vicious or aggressive in any sort of way. Now, here is where the problem comes. Boyfriend and I live together, and I have an autistic 8-year-old son that I have split custody of. He is absolutely terrified of dogs. It has gotten to the point where he wants to be at his father's house rather than ours, and it's because of the dog. Another thing is the responsibility. I already have an autistic 8-year-old, my boyfriend works long hours, and I work from home. We simply don't have time to look after her. I talked to my boyfriend about the possibility of us getting rid of the dog for the sake of my son. He said his mother would take her, but she travels a lot for work. I asked if there was a friend that would take her instead, and he said that he isn't sure, but he would like to keep the dog because it was his deceased brother's dog, and he would like to have something to remember him by. He says he will try to see what he can do. A few days roll by, and he doesn't seem to be actively looking for a place for the dog. Meanwhile, my child asked if he could stay with his dad because of the dog. So I looked online and found a couple looking for a dog. They decided to come get her. So today, I told him that someone is making the drive to come get the dog. He flips out at me and asks why I would give his dog away. I explained that my child is terrified of the dog when he visits, something he doesn't understand, and I told him that we don't have time for the dog. He gets mad and says that I don't get to make decisions like that without consulting him first, and that it's not even my dog to give away. I tell him that he was taking too long, because I don't want my child to have to fear living with us because of the dog. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I may have been hasty in getting rid of the dog, especially since it's his dead brother's dog. I have never lost a sibling, but I can't imagine getting rid of something that they gave you. So why did you do it, OP? Why did you do it? If you can't imagine getting rid of something they gave you, especially the dog, then I don't think you have any reasonable justification for getting rid of the dog other than it was too much of an inconvenience for you because of your son. I empathize with the reason you did give, as the child doesn't want to be over at your house if the dog is there. But unfortunately, giving away the dog was not your choice to make. That pisses me off a lot. I think you're absolutely an asshole for doing that. And now in the comments, quote, he gets mad and says that I don't get to make decisions like that without consulting him first, and that it's not even my dog to give away. And he's right about both of those things. You have got a reasonable motivation for not wanting the dog around, but that doesn't mean you can just do it unilaterally. You convince him to do it, and if you can't, then you find a way to deal with that. You're the asshole, it is not your dog, and it is not your call. But the boyfriend made a decision to bring the dog to the home without consulting the girlfriend. You were leaving the part out where OP's brother-in-law died at 21. That was no one's decision, and if my younger brother died and was caring for a pet, I would absolutely take something they loved. Also, his brother passed away a month ago. A month. He is probably still grieving and trying to give it a place when OP decides he is waiting too long before making a decision to give his dead brother's dog away. You're the asshole. You giving away his dog to accommodate your kid would be the equivalent of him giving away your kid to accommodate his dog. Not to mention, this was his deceased brother's dog. What you did was awful. Dogs aren't children, that's her child, but I see what you were saying. I just want you to pause and have you reconsider that you just compared a human child to a dog. You see no issue with this? Nope, no issue at all. Not everyone holds the opinion that humans are inherently more important than animals. Also, the fact that the kid was already there and is disabled, plus, OP is the one expected to take care of the dog most of the time. How is any of this fair on OP? I get he's grieving, but he doesn't just get to bring a dog home without OP's approval, especially alienate her child and expect her to take care of the dog. But equally, she shouldn't get rid of the dog without his consent. You're the arsehole. I was going to say no one was an arsehole here until you went behind your boyfriend's back to get rid of this dog. I understand you're looking out for your son, but this is a deeper conversation than you have to get rid of the thing you love because it goes against the thing that I love. This takes conversation. This dog is as important to him as your son is to you, and you don't get to tell him he's wrong. If I had someone try to get rid of my animal behind my back, unless the animal was a physical threat to them, I would split with them. That significant other would be fine. I don't care if one is a human and one is an animal, his dog doesn't have to be less important. This requires chat after chat after chat, and you have to be looking for compromise, not get rid of your dog because I said so. You don't respect his grief. You don't respect the things that are important to him. You don't respect him. And now onto the update. So here is an update. My boyfriend still hadn't found a home for the dog. He said he can't bring himself to get rid of the dog because it was his brother's, and I tried to tell him that it wasn't his dog to keep and that my child was more important. I said if the dog wasn't leaving, then I was. He kept the dog. So my son and I packed our bags and left. If he wants to be attached to his brother's dog and not care about my son's fears, then that's fine by me. A majority of the comments from my previous post seemed to think that we were both wrong, but a few of you thought that I was an asshole, and that's okay. I just didn't want my son to be scared in his own home, but we will be fine. Thank you all for your input on the matter. And now in the comments, I think you were missing the part of the earlier post where the vast majority of people said that you're the asshole. This update is great. This is how it should have ended. You need to prioritize your child, and his needs to live his life with what he loves too. You weren't married, and your living conditions are incompatible. This exactly. Sometimes going separate ways is the right choice, and I think it was here. OP's problem and strength is that her kid came first. She's right to do so, but she had no consideration at all for the boyfriend with how she went about it. I'm sure she got in the way of the grieving and would only prolong the worst parts of it. This is a classic, you're technically right, but you're still an asshole. I think most of the you're the asshole part came from the fact that he wasn't trying hard enough to get rid of the dog, so she tried to give it away without his consent, which is really and truly a dick move. It's good that she left to protect her son, and he's probably happier with the dog anyway, so it all seems to have worked out for the best. Well, I can understand that. He lost his brother 5 weeks prior, and you tried to give his brother's dog away to some strangers he had never met or spoken to, something you knew he didn't want, something that is a physical link to his brother. 5 weeks after his brother's death, according to your last post. I understand where you were coming from. Your son is scared of dogs and you are protecting him, but your boyfriend is grieving the very recent loss of his younger brother, and this is a link that is helping him get through that. It seems like there was a decent compromise here of his mum has the dog, but they have him when she travels for work. With the boy spending time with dad too, there might not have been too much overlap and the few days might have been used as a learning experience. I had a similar thought. Share the custody between them and the boyfriend's mum. Let her have the dog when OP's kids was with them, and if mum has to travel for work, they get the dog and arrange with the kid's dad to have him stay there during the mum's absence. I feel like if everyone involved was willing to work together, a solution could have been found. No, you do not alter custody schedules like that for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is stability for the child, especially an autistic one. Our next post is titled, "My boyfriend is hiding all my stuff, and I have no idea why." My boyfriend of 5 months just moved in with me 3 weeks ago. He had some problems with his apartment, damp walls, and it has to be renovated. As my roommate is currently spending some time abroad, I told him it would be okay if he stayed at my place for 4 to 6 weeks. He'll be able to move back into his own apartment by that time. So now we've been living together for 3 weeks, and things started out great. Jealousy had been a bit of a problem between us because we often go out separately, probably once a week, but coming home to the same apartment helped him get over his unjustified jealousy. But there has been one new problem. Now, this may seem petty at first, but I'm really at my wit's end with this one. Ever since he moved in with me, things started disappearing and then reappearing one day later in the same place they were missing from. I'm talking about documents, small household items and food, and it's not like losing keys and then finding them again somewhere. I specifically look for something in a certain place where it isn't, but it is there the next day. For example, I like to take a chocolate bar with me to work in the morning, and for that, I normally have a pack of chocolate bars at home. Shortly after he moved in with me, I woke up to find all the chocolate was gone. I asked him about it, and he said he didn't know anything about it. I come home just to find the chocolate bars are in the cupboard again. I ask him, and he says he doesn't know anything about it. Maybe you just didn't see them in the morning, he says. We're talking about a large pack with about 12 chocolate bars. How could I not see that? At first I thought it was maybe some strange kind of humor, but he seems angry when I bring it up, and it's starting to really piss me off, because sometimes it's been items belonging to one of my friends that I wanted to give back to them and then couldn't, or it was certain documents I needed for a certain day. Now, I have absolutely no idea what this is about. I am not crazy, I just don't understand at all. He gets really angry when I talk about it, saying I'm making this up just to cause drama. Why should I? I have no idea what's going on. Any ideas? And now in the comments, he's gaslighting you. Run. And OP says, someone else used that term too. I looked it up on Urban Dictionary, but I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean. And why would someone do that? I mean, what's the goal behind it? The goal is to make you think you're crazy so you doubt your own sanity, and he's the one in control of the situation and is always right because you are clearly insane. To expand on this comment, it's a way to manipulate you and increase his control while diminishing yours. It's a setup for an abusive relationship. It will manipulate the victim into dependency on the abuser, making the victim mentally unsure or unable to leave the relationship, and often financially unable to do so, or have no way to obtain the means to leave. You may want to question his motives here. Would someone you care about, and supposedly cares about you too, want to make you feel insane? What motive would he have to move your things and then put them back? And OP says, I don't know, this sounds really screwed up. He's a nice guy, and I don't know how to put it. He's not the most academic guy. This sounds like serious psychological manipulation. You mean you think he's a nice guy because his actions before his most recent ones have led you to assume so? How long did you know him before you started dating? Do you have a lot of mutual friends? Do you know any of his exes? And OP says, I've known him for about 2 months. We met at a mutual friend's party. I was just out of another relationship and wasn't interested in dating, but he showered me with very romantic gifts and gestures and letters, which I hadn't known from any of my exes, and so we started going on dates about a month after we met. He wanted a relationship very quickly, and at some point I thought, why not? I hope this doesn't get buried, but OP, I have read what you wrote and your responses to questions, and I'm a little bit concerned with the following. 1. The things appearing to go missing are directly linked with you leaving the house. It's almost like he's trying to subtly stop you from leaving. 2. He is jealous of you going out with your single friends. And 3. Him being angry that you think it's too soon to introduce him to your family. He seems to be pushing the relationship to be serious quickly by using guilt. These can be the warning signs of a potentially abusive relationship. These behaviors start small and insidious and then escalate. I had a friend who started a relationship, and her boyfriend hated the fact that she hung out with me, as I was single and participated in what he called trampy activities, like hanging out with friends at bars and having males as friends. I was concerned about his level of jealousy and apparent hate of her single friends and warned her. She seemed to think that it was normal and was just a little insecure. She exited that relationship 2 years later and admitted to us all that he was physically and emotionally abusive. I'm not saying everyone who is jealous is an abuser, but combined with other red flags, you should be cautious. Do not let him dictate who you can and cannot hang out with. Don't let him guilt you into doing things you're uncomfortable with. Please be wary and look at the situation with this new information, OP. And OP replies, thank you very much for this comment. This really makes a lot of sense. I know someone who was in an abusive relationship, and I was always sure that it couldn't happen to me because I wouldn't let any guy treat me like this. But if this is how it starts, I can understand a little better, and to be honest, I'm getting really concerned. And now onto the update. First of all, thank you all very much for your suggestions, advice, support, and concern. I've gotten multiple PMs asking if I was okay, and I really appreciate it. So back to my situation. After I read all of your comments and did some reading on gaslighting, I was really freaked out. Plenty of you told me there were other red flags in our relationship. It got me thinking, and more stuff came to mind that should have worried me a long time ago. Our whole relationship felt pretty rushed from the start. I didn't even want to date, but he showered me with romantic gifts, gestures, date ideas, and texts, and I finally gave in. He was pretty upset when I didn't want to say I love you from the start, when I didn't want him to meet my family right away, when I didn't want to have sex without a condom, and when I didn't want to book an expensive vacation with him. He was very jealous and didn't want me to go out without him, although he went out with his friends all the time. He made me cancel plans to spend time with him, and then stood me up. He logged into my Facebook and changed my relationship status one day after we started dating as a surprise. I actually did worry at that, but thought that he was just bad at making surprises. And as user Pigeons Be Pigeoning pointed out, all the stuff that has gone missing had something to do with me leaving the house or meeting friends and family. A gift for my friend, the key to my parents' house, a USB stick I borrowed, documents for an application for a semester abroad, which we had a huge fight about because he didn't want me to go, etc. After I read all about gaslighting, I ordered a nanny cam. Unfortunately, the delivery took 4 days, and after day 1, I already knew I couldn't be with him any longer. I wanted him out of the apartment ASAP, and with as little drama as possible. I told him that my roommate had gotten a really interesting job offer and would cut her vacation short and come home in a week, so he had to move out. He was pretty angry, but I told him there was nothing I could do. I also told him, as some of you suggested, that his landlord had to get him a place to stay and that he should call him. The next day, he told me that he'd talked to his landlord and he could move back into his own flat on the following weekend. The renovations had not taken as long as planned. At this point, I doubt the apartment ever had damp walls to begin with, but who knows. In the evening, he asked me if I wanted to move in with him because it works so well and you don't like your roommate anyway. I never even said that, and I told him sure, I would move in with him in June, and he was pretty excited about it. While I was waiting for the nanny cam to arrive, there was one incident when something went missing. A book that I had ordered for my dad over Amazon and wanted to bring him the next day. At least that's what I told my boyfriend. Of course, in the morning, the book was gone. I chose to ignore it, and he reacted quite strange to it, even asked me on my way out if I had taken the book with me. Why on earth would he ask that if he didn't expect a reaction from me? I just asked, what book? The book you wanted to bring your dad. I don't know what you're talking about. In the evening, the book was on my desk again, of course, and I ignored it again. 2 hours later, he casually walks by my desk and says, "Ah, that's the book I was talking about." I just said, "Oh, that book." He seemed pretty angry for the rest of the evening. 2 days later, the nanny cam finally arrived. I set it up while he was at the gym, and again, when he was there, placed a letter that I needed for work on my desk. I wasn't surprised at all when it was gone a few hours later and reappeared the next day. When I finally was alone at home again and could check out the nanny cam evidence, I only saw what I already knew. He took the letter while passing the desk, put it in his gym bag, and put it back a few hours later. However, as soon as I saw the evidence, I decided against confronting him. To be honest, I was scared of his reaction and had already decided to break it off as soon as possible. Also, the camera didn't show me his motive, and I figured he probably wouldn't tell me anyway. However, it frustrated me very much that I would probably never know why he did it, and on the last evening before he moved back to his newly renovated apartment, I told him that I wanted to watch an old movie called Gaslight. Thanks for the tip, everybody. It really is a great movie. He sat with me throughout the whole movie, but it was quieter than usual while I talked the whole time about how unrealistic the movie was and that he was obviously insane. I actually expected some kind of reaction from him, but he just sat there looking nervous. On Sunday, he took all his stuff back to his apartment. My brother had organized someone to come and change the locks, and as soon as that was done, I wrote my boyfriend a text telling him that it was over. I had no interest in being contacted again, that our breakup was final, and I thought it was very sad that he had to hide my things to keep the relationship interesting. Since then, he called me more or less non-stop, but I haven't picked up, and I won't. I know, this isn't the most heroic or exciting ending. I could have confronted him with the video evidence, but instead I cowardly broke up with a text message. However, I really didn't want to confront him and have a dramatic fight. I just wanted it to be over as soon and as smoothly as possible. If there is anything I've learned from this, it's not to rush into a relationship. For the past 7 years, I've jumped from one long-term relationship to the next, and I think it's time to stay single for a while and concentrate on my college classes. For now, I'm going to stay at my brother's for 2 or 3 weeks, and I should probably change my phone number. I'm sorry that I can't give you any insight on why he did it. It may have been kleptomania, a prank, or messing with my stuff because something about me frustrated him. I will probably never know. In all the texts he's sent me, it only says that he doesn't know what I'm talking about, and he never took my things. And now in the comments, this is the most brilliant breakup update I've read on here. Watching Gaslight with him was a stroke of genius. Breaking up with this psycho over text wasn't cowardly. In this case, you did all the smart things. Busted him on video, got him out of the house, changed the locks, and then broke up with him. If anything, this is probably one of the smartest breakups I've ever seen. I think the smartest point is that she decided it was over before the nanny cam even arrived. Having the proper insight into a situation and being honest with yourself is a valuable trait. Not even that. The fact that you have to order a nanny cam for something so ridiculous as watching your boyfriend hiding your crap and say that you lost it only for it to reappear later? I think just ordering that would have me thinking like, what am I still doing with him? This should be the template for breaking up with crazy people who live with you. Her psycho ex already had a place to stay though. His apartment was probably never damaged. How do you break up with a psycho you live with when your name is on a lease or mortgage or finances are intertwined? It's a lot harder. And OP replies, I agree. As difficult as this situation seemed to me at first, I realized it would actually be quite simple to get rid of him. He had his own apartment and didn't even live with me officially. And we're not actually done there, there is a final update to this one. I'll try to keep it short this time. Unfortunately, my last update was locked, so I couldn't reply to every comment I would have liked to reply to. In the past few weeks, I have gotten some messages asking if I'm okay or still alive, so I thought I'd write one more update. I'd love to give you an overall happy update, but unfortunately, the breakup didn't go as smoothly as I first thought it would. I never picked up when my ex called me and never wrote back to one of his countless messages. But I read most of them, and there was a certain shift in his messages after about 4 days when he suddenly went from this, I love you and miss you so much. I don't know what you think I've done, but I can assure you I didn't do anything wrong. Whoever told you that is a liar. Please give me another chance. To this, you're such a whiny cow. No wonder you can't hold up a relationship with anyone. I hate you, and there is no second chance for us no matter how much you wish for that. For your own sake, pray to not ever run into me again. I blocked his number later that same week, but had an overall bad feeling when some strange things happened. Some friends of mine called me to ask if I'm okay, and they were all under the impression that I'd broken up with him because I wanted to concentrate on my mental health. Twice I came to work, and everyone was surprised to see me because someone had called to let them know that I wasn't feeling well enough for working. When I asked who that was, they said he told them he was my doctor. Also, my ex wrote to my mum on Facebook. They've actually never met in person, pretending to be a concerned friend, asking about my well-being after my latest breakdown. It was very easy to clear some of that stuff up, especially with my family, but it was harder to do so at work. After 3 weeks at my brother's, I decided to move back into my own apartment, which was not a good idea. On the second evening, I saw my ex in front of the building, and then I saw him at least every other day, standing on the other side of the street, just looking across. After about a week, someone started to ring the bell at 3 a.m. for 5 days straight. Also, 3 times I came home and found a little piece of paper in front of my door with a flame drawn on it. It creeped me out so much that he somehow managed to get into the building. I grew more and more afraid to leave the apartment and finally decided to move back in with my brother and his family. My friend, whom I shared the apartment with and who is currently abroad, didn't take too well to the whole story. She was furious when she heard that I changed the locks without telling her, and even more furious when I told her I'd be moving out because that was not what we initially agreed upon. However, I just can't go back there. In hindsight though, I probably should have involved her more in the process. I did ask her parents if it was okay to change the locks at their apartment, but I didn't speak to her about it. I feel really shitty about letting him stay in her apartment in the first place. I also went to the police to get a restraining order. It was a surprise to me how hard it is to get one of these. I needed not only evidence of him harassing me, but also evidence of him threatening my safety. However, after long hours and much patience from my sister-in-law, I got one. The bright side is that I got approved for my semester abroad, which starts in October. To not burden my brother any longer, I will already leave in August and maybe travel around a bit. I'm already in a Facebook group with all the other exchange students that will spend the next semester there, and I think I certainly won't be alone. When I'll come back, I'll be looking for a small apartment on my own. I still don't have Amazon Prime, I'm sorry. I can't thank you all enough for opening my eyes after my first post here. I actually had no idea what was going on, even if I had a feeling that something was off. You guys saved me from a very abusive relationship, and every day I am grateful that I got out of it soon enough. And now in the comments, I think she didn't take the calling into work thing nearly seriously enough. That's someone setting up so that if you're missing, no one realizes or responds during the critical period. If someone ever does that to you, you should tell your work to immediately contact you if it happens again, and to report her missing immediately if she can't be contacted. I had a stalker call into my place of work, pretending to be my dad, brother, doctor, and boyfriend, always saying something was drastically wrong and I wouldn't be in, or that I quit, or that I was hurting the animals, and they were concerned for my mental well-being. Anything and everything they could to get me fired. Thank goodness for my manager Jill. She had been through something similar in the late 80s and knew the tricks of the narcissist. Every time they called, after that first time which they didn't know was from him, she totally played into it and said that she'd deal with me, etc. And then she would call the police, adding to my growing list of harassment and victimization. She believed me more than my own family. Thank you, Jill, wherever you are now. The fact that her ex was trying to convince everyone around her that she was mentally unsound is scary as crap. I hope it really did get cleared up. I had an ex hide my deodorant, and he said it was because it was the same his ex used. Turns out he was an abusive piece of crap. Who knew? This was one red flag of many, and it only got worse. If you're experiencing anything like this in your relationship or anything controlling you or your sleep, please get out of that relationship as soon and as safely as you can. I was young and naive and should have left sooner. Am I the asshole for taking my friend to court after she kicked me out of the bridal party for cutting my hair? For my friend's 3-day wedding, I had to buy 3 different dresses, including alterations and specific shoes, which totaled over $700. She also wanted specific hairstyles for each day. Unfortunately, starting in March, my hair started to deteriorate. Due to health reasons, my hair was falling out in chunks, and in May, I made the difficult decision to cut my hair. I told the bride about my decision 2 weeks before the wedding, and she didn't say anything bad. The following week, she came over to my house, and when she was about to leave, she brought up that she was concerned about my haircut, and I told her it would look good, even though I wouldn't be uniform with the other bridesmaids. The following day, I received this message. After our recent conversations, I'd like to remind you of my boundaries. I have been very accommodating and graceful, but I can't allow you to disrespect me. As you know, my wedding has been something I've dreamt of for many years. Husband and I invested a lot of money into the video and photos of this day, and as we reflect on this day in the future, we want to see our vision reflected in the memories. Since I asked each of you to be bridesmaids in 2019, I've been very clearly and very communicative in my request. The timing of your decision to cut your hair and not inform in advance is very upsetting to me. I would have felt respected if you had communicated with me more than a week prior to the wedding, so we could have worked together to find a collaborative solution. Your inconsistencies have concerned me, and while I sympathize with your health concerns, I'm not willing to compromise my vision to accommodate you or anyone else when you could have informed me in advance, and we could have found a better solution. Since this is something you can no longer fully commit to, I need you to please step down from participating in my wedding. This was 3 days before the wedding. I immediately sent her and her husband an invoice asking them to reimburse me for the dresses and shoes. Keep in mind that one of the dresses is still in her possession even though I paid for it. Neither of them replied, and so I decided to take it to court. I was told I was inconsistent and selfish after I spent the past 2 weeks helping her plan the wedding shower. I worked with another bridesmaid to surprise her with a bridal shower after our bachelorette trip had to be cancelled. I spent hours helping her out with the wedding details. When she asked me to help her tone up before the wedding, I sent her a personalized workout program and even went with her to the gym to show her the ropes. When I agreed to be her bridesmaid, I was more than willing to oblige with what she had asked, even if at times it was a lot of time and money. So am I the asshole for taking her to court because she kicked me out for cutting my hair? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I might be the asshole because I did agree to be a bridesmaid and knew what obligations I would have to meet financially and time-wise. I was willing to spend the money on the dresses and shoes as her bridesmaid, and technically I own the dresses now. I've been on your side from the start with this one. Your hair was deteriorating and falling out in chunks, and you had to make the difficult decision to cut your hair. In her response, there's absolutely no sympathy for you at all through there. Who does she think she is? Yeah, dude, you asked each and every one of us in 2019 to make sure that we don't have any degenerative diseases that make our hair fall out in chunks. I'll just chuck that one in the diary. I'll just plan ahead to make sure that doesn't happen to me. You're not the asshole. Now in the comments, so not the asshole. You agreed to be a bridesmaid and spent $700, and due to something out of your control, you had to cut your hair. Thus, given that you wouldn't match, we're told you wouldn't be in the wedding. Sue, and bring all the items you have in your possession to court with you so you can turn them over if the court rules in your favor. By the way, no matter what, I'd go no contact, as you really don't need a friend like this. I hope you win the court case, but it sounds potentially difficult. What a shitty person to put hairstyle for wedding over your health. Maybe I just don't get it because I don't plan on getting married, but do people care so much about their weddings that they are this anal about the length of their frickin' bridesmaid's hair? I see so many of these stories about brides like this one, and they all sound like absolute monsters. Does it really matter what length or color someone's hair is? I understand your bridesmaids having matching dresses and shoes, that makes sense, and I understand wanting to have your wedding planned out and all that good stuff, but no one's wedding is so important that you get to act like you're a goddess and treat other people like dirt. Not the asshole. If the wedding hinges on how someone attending it will look, then the marriage is probably doomed. Good luck with your court case. Update us, please. And now onto that update. This has been a long time coming. I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking what the results of the case have been. Unfortunately, I could no longer post comments of my previous post as well. I figured I would wait until everything was done to update everyone all at once. In December 2021, I got the notification that a court date had been set for February 7th, 2022. It would be virtual, and since it's small claims, we would represent ourselves. I began gathering my evidence and created a virtual file, which I shared with the court and her 7 days before the hearing. On the day, she did show up. We were given the chance to settle, but that was unsuccessful. When we returned to the hearing, I found out she also made a virtual file with her evidence, but never shared it with me. The court then made her share it, and what a surprise I had! She had copied my entire format for presenting evidence. Keep in mind that this is a format I created. She didn't even have the decency or brain cells to make something up herself. The hearing proceeded, and we were both given a chance to share our side. I won't go into the details of it, but it took probably 10 to 15 minutes. In my state, they do not give you the verdict right away, and it can take up to 90 days. And so, I waited, and waited, and waited, and waited. Then yesterday on May 5th, almost 90 days after, I got a verdict. I won. She has been ordered to pay me the total of $808.94 for the dresses and shoes. I have to return 2 dresses and shoes that I have to her. The verdict goes into effect May 30th. I don't see her appealing it, or fingers crossed she doesn't. All in all, I am very happy with the outcome and so ready to close this chapter. Thank you to everyone who has been so invested in this with me. I hope this was the season finale that you were looking forward to. P.S. My hair and health are doing much better. My 3 bald spots are growing again, and I couldn't be happier. And now in the comments, I am super glad for you. In the first place, you had to cut your hair because of health reasons, and your friend was more concerned about the vision of her perfect wedding than your health. I'm sure there could have been something done, like hair extensions or a wig, if you had agreed to that. Instead, she just kicked you out. It's only right you got reimbursed for all that money. That's wonderful. However, just a warning, is there anything you can do if she doesn't comply? I had to take someone to small claims court years ago and won. They refused to pay and ignored the order. I ended up having to put a lien on their house and waiting until they sold it years later to collect the money. Garnishing wages might also be an option. For OP, I mean of course. I had a similar experience. Took someone to court and won, but knew she wouldn't just hand over the money. After I started garnishing her wages though, I guess she found that embarrassing or humiliating, because she first tried telling me she'd have to declare bankruptcy if I didn't drop my claim, and when I called her bluff, she ended up settling in full. People always say you can't get blood from a stone, but I say a lot of squishy blood-filled humans just pretend to be rocks. For God's sake, I don't understand the "I'm getting married, so everyone in the wedding party has to do what I want them to with their appearance and hair color/length" level of entitlement that brides have. My sister's only rule for my hair was freshly dyed, which her best friend royally screwed up, and no space buns. I'm glad you won in court, and I hope you do get paid, and I wish the best for you and your health. Those bald spots could have been caused by the stress of being this lunatic's bridesmaid. That was my thought too. And why are people so keen on having the perfect video of their wedding day lunacy? In any case, the married couple will remember this episode every single time they think back to their wedding day during their lifetimes. So the OP not only won in court, but will continue to win and win and win. At least the bride got some practice in court in preparation for her future divorce. I'm so tired of people using disrespect in this way, the way the Bridezilla did, I mean. Every single thing that happens in life that you don't like, you disagree with, or is a result of people living their lives without you as the main character, isn't disrespect. This was a medical issue. If the bride really thinks OP somehow made her hair fall out on purpose just to disrespect her, she should ask herself what she did to lose OP's respect. But I doubt her mind works that way. Our next post is titled, "My best friend, 27 male, and I, 27 male, kissed after leaving my wife." I'm still pretty confused, but the strangest part for me was that I really liked it and wanted to keep going. Not because someone was kissing me, but that it was him specifically. My wife, or ex, and I have been disconnected from each other for a long time, not getting along until we finally decided to call it quits. Yet, I'm not sad about it at all. I'm relieved it's over, and my best friend since middle school is letting me stay here for now. We were talking about random stuff, then the conversation got a little deeper. He was looking at me with these eyes, and it just occurred to me to kiss him. He kissed me back. It was so intense, and look, I've never in my entire life ever kissed another guy before. Not only that, but in my mind, I'm wanting it to lead to more, but he's stopped because he doesn't want it to seem like he's taking advantage of me right now that I just left my wife. I've got so much going on in my head now that I don't know what it means for us. All I really know is that I can't stop thinking about him and how much I really liked that kiss. And now in the comments, if you guys like each other, go for it. And OP says, I do like him, or it's that I can't stop smiling whenever I think about our kiss, but it's also freaking me out. That freaking out sensation could be, I won't say 100% it is, it could be your body telling you that that's what you want. If you can't stop thinking about it and missing the way he feels around you, or when you're being intimate, mind you, intimacy doesn't always equal sexual energy with each other, it could be a longing. Your body and your gut have a weird way of pointing you in the direction you're meant to go in, but it's never really apparent or convenient. Also, homosexual attraction is a ride, man. Keep hands, arms, and legs in the car at all times. Jokes aside, have a conversation around the kiss, what you both want to have happen after, and where you're both comfortable with it going, if anywhere. I wish you the best of luck. And OP replies, tell me about it. It's been chaotic and confusing. He's all I can think about right now. This is something I never thought about. Us together, I mean. It's made me think back on our friendship. Like, were these feelings always there? Or what the heck happened? Because I kissed him, now suddenly there is these feelings. We do gotta talk for sure. I've been at work all day, and we live together right now, so there is literally no avoiding what happened. Thanks everyone for being so cool about this. You and him both left her? Good on you, mate. All jokes aside, best of luck, dude. And OP says, no, I did. Or more like she and I agreed this wasn't working anymore, so we ended things. I'm oddly happy, but I really don't know what comes after this. I've never been into guys before, it has never crossed my mind. It's possible to be totally straight, but one guy just does it for you. Sexuality is a spectrum. Maybe you're like 99% straight, maybe you're bi. Who knows? Only way to figure out is to explore it. That's so sweet. I hope everything works out for the best, and I must say, by the way you described him, that he sounds like the one person you need and want, and that is so wholesome and sweet. And OP says, he's an amazing person. I've always felt lucky to have him in my life. After this, I keep seeing him in a different light that makes my heart flutter, to be honest. It's super weird, yet also gives me a good feeling. I kind of hope it feels the same for him. And now on to the update. Holy crap guys, I have a boyfriend. And that is really strange for me as someone who always considered himself straight. But you know what? I'm not gonna stress about the labels. I only want to focus on how I feel about him and that he's definitely taken a place in my heart for longer than I was letting myself admit. When it's someone you've known since you were a kid and you kiss them, it really makes my mind think back to how long you have felt this way about them. There was a particular memory from my senior year that was completely erased from my mind. It was nothing romantic, but how I looked at him once and the way that it made me feel. That memory was pushed way down until it surfaced the more I thought about us after that kiss. Me and him talked so many times about this that same night after making my post. Because I wanted him to be completely open and honest, he admitted that he had been in love with me for a few years. It definitely took him time to accept that, but he never dared to say anything because I was married. There was a lot of crying, lots of hugging, and for me, there was tons of regret, thinking if I let my thoughts go there instead of ignoring my feelings, where would we be now? Could we have had these years together already instead of barely starting out now? It's a stupid thing to think about, I know, because it's not like we don't have the rest of our lives. We decided to pursue a relationship. I am so ecstatic. Since I'm still in the beginning process of divorcing my ex-wife and don't think I'm ready for everyone in my life to know about this yet, we are gonna take it slow and keep this between us. It's been nothing but touchy-feely when we're home together ever since. I love how sweet he is. Anytime he does something like wrap himself around me from behind, he asks if this is okay or heck, even to kiss me, which I really can't get enough of. Anything that involves getting physical with me, he always asks if I'm okay with that. Of course, I ask him the same too, but I just really appreciate him being so caring about it. We went on a date last night to the movies. We don't even ask how the movie was because I really wouldn't be able to tell you. Before that, we just walked around the park talking about everything. After all the chaotic crap that's happened over the last few months, this is the most I've been at peace. I do have to admit we kind of threw away taking things slow once we got back home, but it was a very real and intense experience. I just can't believe it. It's crazy for me to think of all the things that I've felt for him all this time weren't as friendly as I thought. My only wish was that we got to explore these feelings between us sooner. I'm a happy and lucky guy, Reddit. It meant so much to me feeling so supported in this as a man who was a little scared about his feelings for another man. Thank you for rooting for us, because it made me root for us too. I'm crazy about this guy, so it's really exciting to see where our relationship will go. And now in the comments, super happy for you, dude. I understand feeling sad about years it seems like you have wasted, but you are still very young and have all the time in the world. And OP says, yeah, I'm trying hard not to focus on it too much because what's done is done. I'm still very happy to be with him. You were still friends the entire time, smiley face. They have been there always. It just speaks to the power of your friendship. You just leveled up. Hey, congrats on discovering something new about yourself, OP. I'm sure it feels good to just live authentically. Don't worry about labels, just love who you love. But be kind to the ex-wife. This is probably throwing her for a loop, unless the split was for other reasons. I'm truly happy for you though. And OP replies, it's not because of me and Tim. My ex and I haven't been happy together for a long time. Neither of us really loved each other anymore, so we decided, why keep this up, you know? This thing between us started after I moved in with him until finding my own place. Understood. I wish you nothing but the best, buddy. I'm 38 male, and I've known that I was gay since I was a kid, but I'm just now starting to kinda, sorta, peek my head out of the closet. But in the end, it really doesn't matter whether you consider yourself bi, gay, pansexual, etc., or even label yourself at all. I'm just always so glad to see people finally living with full authenticity. I am truly so happy for you. This post makes me nervous though, just because of how emotionally charged this situation is and how much pressure would be riding on this. I mean, with it being his best friend, and coming so quickly, that's what she said, on the heels of divorce. That being said, I hope we never hear from them ever again because everything is going so well. My mum's rude customer turned out to be my girlfriend. So I'm 21 female and lesbian. My girlfriend is 36 and bisexual. My mum had me young at 16, so she's 37 and works as a waitress at a high-end steakhouse. I just moved in with my girlfriend 2 weeks ago after dating for 2 months. You just know that we're off to a good start already. Oh my god. Moving in with her is a culture shock because she made close to 7 figures last year and I'm a struggling actress/college student. So my mum is serving the lunch crowd and goes to greet a woman. This woman did not acknowledge my mum's greeting and interrupted her when she was rattling off the specials. When her soup comes, she tells my mum her wallet costs more than what she made in a month, so be careful. She snapped her fingers to get my mum's attention, but when she came without her beckoning, she rolled her eyes and said, "Will you leave me alone?" At the end, when my mum asked if she could take her plate, she sarcastically asked if she had any other bright ideas. In the end, my mum went to take her Amex and saw the name on it and put 2 and 2 together. She got a very poor tip at the end of it. She said that she has given me the information and that what I do is up to me. I'm in denial that my girlfriend would be like this. She's always been sarcastic, but in a very attractive way. In fact, the only problems we've had is that she sometimes comes off as flirtatious to others, and I get jealous sometimes because I can see she has a lot of options. When we've gone out, she's been nice to the waiters. But my mum and I have a very close relationship and are very honest with each other, and I seethe at the thought of anyone being rude to her. When I asked for what the woman was wearing, my mum told me exactly what she put on this morning. So when my girlfriend got home, I asked if she did anything interesting today. She said not much, and I asked if she was in a bad mood, and she asked why would I ask her. Now she's getting suspicious because I turned down sex, and when I tried to talk to her again, she said that she was busy. What do I do to confront this issue? What can I do if she was just having a really bad day, and this was out of character? I love her a lot and she's been extremely generous to me, so I don't know what to do. And now in the comments, there is old advice that you should pay attention to how a new love interest treats people like waitresses who are strangers to her in a subordinate role, who have no lasting impact or influence over her. There is also the significant age gap to consider. Given her behavior with your mother, I think that you will see other red flags in your relationship if you examine it. All of this. If or when your mum and girlfriend meet, it's going to be more awkward than the fact that they're only a year apart. Moved in after 2 months, 15-year age gap, and only 1 year between your mum and girlfriend, make 7 figures, is rude to waitstaff, and went and found a struggling actress 15 years her junior to date. Yeah, this all sounds absolutely peachy and above board, doesn't it? Is no one else here going to address this huge power imbalance in this relationship, or is it okay when it's not a hetero couple? Seriously, what is a wealthy 36-year-old getting from a 21-year-old? It's all about power. OP, your mum has already informed you of your partner's attitude towards those she thinks she has power over. How do you see this factoring into your relationship dynamic over the next few years? I'll address it. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Someone who finds a partner barely old enough to buy a beer, treats service people like crap, and acts like a pimp is not a good person. OP, your mum has shown you every waving red flag possible about this awful woman. Run like hell. Lots of people have bad days without being demeaning and disrespectful to others. You really need to think about if this is the kind of person you want to tie yourself to. For me, that would be an absolute deal breaker. I do not like spending time with rude, entitled assholes. It was good of your mum to give you the information and leave the decision up to you. It really is up to you to determine if this behavior is something you can live with or not. And OP says, yeah, my mum's always been great like that. Thanks. And now onto the update. There was a lot of tension between me and my girlfriend after I turned down sex the day before yesterday. I was clearly upset about what my mum told me, but I didn't know how to confront her. She ended up disappearing into her study. After the house manager finished cooking dinner and left, she came out in going out clothes and didn't say anything to me. I asked where she was going and she said nowhere, just to meet up with some friends. I texted her a few hours later to ask if she was coming home to eat or if she needed a driver. She doesn't text back for a while until she sends me back a picture of hotel drinks tab that was in the thousands saying she was paying for everybody. And then she stops replying to my texts. I don't know who booked the room or who she was with. I hear her stumble in at 3:30 a.m. and she reeks of booze and other random smells. She wakes up at 2 p.m. and goes to her study. I go to her study and she doesn't acknowledge me for a good minute. She finally says, "Last time I checked, you were 21, not 12. Adults speak when they have something on their minds," and tells me to out with it. So I confront her about being rude to the waitress, my mum. She says that I have been sulky all week and she has been walking on eggshells since last Monday, even though I thought we were perfectly happy then. She acknowledged she was at the restaurant, but said none of what I accused her of ever happened. She said that she was served by multiple people and said that at fancy restaurants, waitresses should know to only approach when the customer beckons, and she lightly recalls one of them breaking such protocol. When I ask who she was with last night, she said she's getting bad vibes from this conversation and tells me to leave if I'm going to be a baby. I'm pretty close to crying, and she says she's been thinking, and this relationship is giving her bad vibes, and maybe I wasn't ready for an adult relationship, and that she clearly misjudged my maturity. I start crying and saying that she was the most successful person I've ever met, and I think she's too good to be true, and a long thing about how I felt she is too good to me, which scares me now, because everything I said was completely from the heart. She then says that when she met me, it was like the stars aligned. She asked if the life advice she gave me was not helping, if this relationship already was not changing my entire life forever. She reminded me that I was living with 4 roommates, and now I live like the 1%, and she's helping put me through school. She said that she even introduced me to her well-connected friends, and when she told them how I was acting, they were so sorry for her, but she told them that bad moments happen to the best of us. I ask her if she would consider meeting my mum to at least talk things out, and she said she didn't want to meet my mum right now. She wants to help improve my life. This morning, she told me to pick out a dream tote that I could use for next semester and joked I was becoming spoiled. I called my mum, and she said I needed to stick to the things I knew to be true and that she has never lied to me before. But what terrifies me is how unprepared I was for her reaction, or how scared I was when she asked me to leave. I don't know what to do. I feel ashamed that I set out to get answers and I screwed up, and now I feel ungrateful and like I'm self-destructing my life. She still works extensively with her ex-husband of 11 years, and I feel like I'll never measure up to him. And now in the comments, you are in a toxic relationship and need to get out of it, like right now. She accused you of being immature by not saying what was bothering you, but then her idea of a mature response to that was to go out and blow thousands of dollars on booze and party it up. 99% chance she screwed someone there too. When you do tell her what's been bothering you, she denied it, because of course she would. She has you so under her thumb that she knew you wouldn't question her about it. Then, she shuts down your very reasonable questions about who she had been partying with by slyly insinuating she would dump you if you kept questioning her. After that, she reminded you that you only have what you do because of her, implying she could take it away in a heartbeat, and then she frickin' bribed you like a child or a pet. She is like skeevy Hollywood villain level of toxic. She sees you as a possession that she owns, not a person. That is scary and never ends well. Also, don't forget she also got mad enough to ignore OP when she said no to sex. That on its own is a red flag. I feel like OP's partner's behavior is stereotypical of well-off guys who saves much younger women from poverty and suffering, and then treats her like crap and pretends to have moral high ground. Advice would be same here as there. Get out, girl. That money won't save your happiness or sanity when your partner treats you like dirt. It seems like she's treating you like her pet project. You are you, don't let her mold you into someone else. She may be wealthy, but I bet you are going to look back and realize you were happier when you lived with 4 roommates. She does not sound like a nice person. Next to the comments about gaslighting and manipulation above, it sounds like she's using her success against you. Maybe you're feeding it a bit too much by saying she's the most successful person you know, etc., but being told those things shouldn't influence a person in my opinion. Just remember that you don't need someone to be successful, only yourself. Also, stop comparing yourselves to others, them, and thinking that you will never get there. Instead, make a plan on how to get there. If what you are saying she said, you used to live with 4 roommates, now living like the 1% and such, is true, I don't think your mum is lying. I hate to break it to her, but money can't buy her love or a good personality. It sounds like she'll forever use her bigger success against you to be the better one in your relationship, and with that argument, justify acting like a total ass. I also think it's funny how she accuses you of being immature, but she's the one who went out when it got hard, and she's the one that doesn't want to have conversations with bad vibes. She also immediately started talking shitty about you to her friends. Maybe this is why she's with a much younger partner. She wants to feel like the most important person in the room, finally be in control. And now for a side update. Am I the asshole for voicing my discomfort about my girlfriend's ex-husband staying over? My girlfriend and her ex-husband started a company together 11 years ago. After they divorced, they agreed to continue to run the company together. So I get that they would see each other during work hours. However, yesterday, her ex-husband came over after dinner and my girlfriend said they were going to work on a project. They are still in her office when I doze off. I wake up in the morning assuming he went home, since it was only a 5-mile drive from the house that we were vacationing in East Hampton to Bridgehampton, where his house was, and it wasn't that late. Yet, when I walk into the kitchen, I see him casually pouring himself a cup of coffee and asking me if I like hash browns. I don't know if I'm just not a morning person, but it was pretty triggering because he had owned this house before their divorce, and he was clearly more at home in it than me. My girlfriend walks in, and they start talking, and were ignoring my attempts to join the conversation. It was not about work, just small talk, until I was practically pulling on my girlfriend's sleeve to get her attention. I asked her why he stayed over and why he could not have gone home. She gets offended and says I'm being rude and insecure, and that she was just being a hospitable business partner. Her ex-husband starts petting the dog and says that it was his fault and he just missed the dog, but sits down and makes no motion to leave. I immediately feel bad because I didn't want to keep him from his dog, and my girlfriend says that when you do business together, you're not supposed to be mean to your business partner. Then she says she has a problem with my mum and is well within her rights to complain to the owner about my mum breaching her privacy, but she didn't. That was when my mum told me she mistreated her when she was her waitress. Am I the arsehole for complaining about him staying over? I have nobody to bounce measures of sanity off of right now. And now in the comments, not the arsehole. I can't think of any situation where staying the night and making breakfast is hospitable business partner behavior. It might be casual and not sexual, but it's definitely not normal. Other than that, I would just say that if you are not comfortable with it, one of you will need to change. It is not an unacceptable thing to do if all parties are in communication and agreement. But the fact that she's insisting this is common business practice is kind of a red flag for either her view of reality or her view of your intelligence. Ask yourself if there has been any gaslighting going on, because this seems like the start of denying reality. Stop posting about your issues with this woman. She sounds 100% awful, and you're the asshole to yourself for staying with her. She gaslights you, she treats service workers like crap, she bribes you with gifts to get you to shut up about any one of the major deal-breaker problems going on here. We get it. She's famous and rich and so great. But honestly, girl, she's not great, and obviously getting advice from the internet last time did nothing to validate your feelings of being gaslit, which they really, really should have. Get help from a therapist and get some space from this woman. I wish you the absolute best with a large dose of clarity and strength for making the changes that you should. Not the asshole. It's not really the fact that he stayed over, it's the fact that she didn't think to ask you or give you a heads up. This is an issue that you can work through, but only if she takes your concerns seriously. Right now, it sounds like she's waving them off. Unless you two establish boundaries with the ex-husband, this will only continue to be an issue as your relationship grows. And our final update is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to choose between my mum and my girlfriend? So my mum served my girlfriend at the steakhouse that she worked at. She said my girlfriend, who didn't know she was my mum at the time, was outlandishly rude, and that she knew it was my girlfriend after she saw her name on the card. So after that, I ended up confronting my girlfriend, and we had a days-long fight, our first fight ever, over this before things went back to normal. However, yesterday my mum calls and tells me she's been placed on leave from work because my girlfriend contacted the owner and said that she exposed her information to a third party and that she felt her privacy had been violated. The restaurant owner happens to know my girlfriend in passing, very distant acquaintance, and my mum says my girlfriend exaggerated her tale to the owner, saying that she rattled off numbers of her Amex card to me and also exaggerated the stuff that my mum accused her of. My mum said since it's a she said situation, she needed me to tell the owner that she only described her general behavior and a few true comments that stuck out. I love my mum, but my life with my girlfriend is so intertwined at this point. We are vacationing in the Hamptons, but I moved in with her back in Los Angeles, where I'm going to college. She's helped me book acting jobs, and I only secured a future internship through her. My girlfriend literally got on her knees, cried, and said she worked so hard for everything she had in life, and what my mum said about her could have destroyed her, and that she didn't want to lose me. When my mum called again, I expressed how angry I was that she was giving me this ultimatum and that I wasn't getting involved. She gets tearful and accuses me of resenting her for not giving me a privileged life. My grandma then calls me angrily and said that I was being a bad daughter who they didn't raise to become this. She refuses to listen to the fact that I would be alone and possibly homeless if I choose sides. Am I the asshole? I feel like I should have the right to choose not to get involved in situations that are between my mum and my girlfriend. Am I the asshole for refusing to burn bridges when I don't have to? And now in the comments, Info. Something isn't right here. Do you actually believe your mother? Why didn't your mum say something to your girlfriend at the time? She had to know your girlfriend would know anyway after mum talked to you. Does your girlfriend have a habit of being rude to waitstaff? And OP says, I do believe her because she never lies to me. She didn't say anything to my girlfriend because she said she wanted to give me the information and let me decide whether I want to stay with my girlfriend. She was afraid if my girlfriend knew she'd lie to me before I had a chance to decide. Welp, then you're the asshole. Your girlfriend mistreated her server, lied about her, and is putting her job in jeopardy. You're the asshole just from that. Add in that her server was your mother, and that you were defending your girlfriend, and you're a super asshole. Info. What could your mother have said about your girlfriend that could destroy her? I'm confused. Being rude to waitstaff is shitty, but people finding out about it doesn't really ruin your whole life, does it? And OP says, my girlfriend was worried about her reputation. Almost everyone around her generally likes her. They don't like her. They like her money. You're the asshole. Your girlfriend was rude to your mother told you about it, you were the one who confronted your girlfriend, and as a result, your girlfriend complained about your mother. Had you done nothing, none of this would have happened, and yet you had the audacity to refuse to help your mother? This makes it so clear what the character of your girlfriend is, and you still support her. I suppose you and your girlfriend are fit for each other. You're the asshole. She completely screwed with your mum's livelihood and treated her horribly, but you were siding with your girlfriend? Sounds like you're choosing money over family. Your girlfriend needs to call your mum's work and explain she lied, and then you need to seriously reconsider your relationship. If she treats your mum like that when she's mad, what will she do to you? This makes me angry just reading it. I can't imagine how your mum feels. Yeah, dating someone almost double your age who talks to you like that and handles perceived disagreements by ghosting you, sending a flex pic of a bar tab, and insulting you further is a no-go. Nonetheless, the stuff with the ex-husband or mum. Screw this manipulative, emotionally abusive cow. She ignored her girlfriend for a full day, and then had the audacity to call her immature and a baby. OP quite obviously didn't realize she was the manipulative girlfriend's plaything and nothing else. Yeah, if she approached the whole thing as a proper sugar baby situation, she would be better able to protect herself. But she actually thinks this is a real relationship and that she had a say in how her sugar mama behaves. And her ignorance here is what's going to get her in a more dangerous situation. Sadly, I can only see this ending with OP being either isolated and abused, or OP is dumped for a newer, younger model once she's too old for the girlfriend, or even worse, and both happen. This left me feeling gross and sad for the mum and daughter for so many different reasons. I'm sad for the mother, but annoyed by the daughter. Yep, some people lose themselves for a house in the Hamptons. Yeah, getting used to living insanely above your means without being able to afford it by yourself is just such a bad idea. If your options are living in a castle or living in the streets with no in-between or safety net, you're just playing Russian roulette with your life. My fiancé put up a pillow barrier in our bed and won't take it down. Okay, I'll make it clear that I can recognize that I'm going to come off as bonkers in this post, but let me try to explain the whole thing. This problem goes back, way back. I'm almost 38, so is he. We're only 3 weeks apart. I'll call him Caleb for this post. Caleb and I met when we were 14 years old in drama club at a Catholic high school, so we have a lot of history. We have been together for 17 years, though we have known each other for 24 years. We're also getting married in 2 weeks, but that's not really relevant here. I have been a terrible sleeper all my life. It started back in high school when my family moved to another city, and my room ended up being in the basement. I got used to sleeping in complete darkness and silence, and being more comfortable on the colder side. Every sleeping situation I've had to deal with since then has been a downgrade in some way, whether it's too bright, too warm, or too noisy. I also hate the feeling of my skin touching itself, so I wrap my sheets around every limb, even between my fingers, to keep everything separated. Over the years, I've had to adapt to this by using the highest noise reduction rating earplugs I can find, putting up blackout curtains all over the windows, and keeping the AC set to 66 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. I also buy oversized sheets to allow for the extra fabric yardage that I need to keep my skin from touching itself. It's still not perfect, but it works for the most part. Of course, that means Caleb, as well as any exes, have had to deal with my insanity as part of the package of being with me. I recognize I'm lucky to have landed a man at all. Trust me. And even when my sleeping terms have been met, I'm still not always a polite sleeping partner. An ex once described my behavior as like a corpse in a washing machine. He was so frustrated that he also took a video of my antics one time to show me what I'm like, and honestly, his description was accurate. A couple years ago, Caleb finally had enough of my crap and suggested that we get separate duvets. We had a lot of Scandinavian friends for some reason, and I guess they told him that it's normal for couples in their part of the world to have their own duvets. So he brought this up as a way to help bring some peace to our bed. I was a little sad since it would cut into cuddle time, but I agreed. At the time, we were sharing a full-sized bed since that's all we could fit into our tiny New York City apartment, and we still slept pretty close to each other, so it wasn't so bad. We have since moved out to the suburbs and are enjoying a much larger living space and are now sharing our first king-size bed. While the upgrade has been great, it feels like I'm sleeping on another continent from him. Ever since getting our new bed, he has been so much happier. He won't shut up about how much better quality sleep he's getting. Whatever, it's fine. A couple of weeks ago though, he decided to add a new feature to our bed. He stacked these 2 long pillows on top of each other and put them between us like a stupid pillow barrier or something. I can't help but feel a little offended that my own fiancé doesn't want to even look at me while we are in bed together. I told him I hate the barrier and I've knocked it over multiple times, but he just puts it back up each time and tells me it's here to stay. Caleb claims it 1. Serves as protection from my violent flailing limbs, 2. Acts as a sound barrier because evidently I also talk a lot in my sleep and sometimes I scream, and 3. Blocks some light that seeps in from our bedroom door that we have to keep open because otherwise our giant German Shepherd will lose her mind and make a scene. Last night, I punched the top pillow on the barrier so hard, the pillow flew across the room and Caleb had to get out of bed to reassemble the barrier, which really annoyed him. He wouldn't talk to me about any pillow barrier related topic for the rest of the night. Should I just drop it and accept this stupid pillow barrier as a part of my life now? I don't know my alternatives besides a straitjacket and maybe some type of face muffler. And for anyone wondering, we're still in love with each other, and I'm not concerned about the integrity of our relationship. The sex is still great, and that hasn't changed. We don't really fight or argue about anything, ever. I can't even remember the last time that we got into a serious disagreement. On the spectrum of severity of relationship advice posts, I agree this is dumb. I don't think anyone's particularly wrong in this situation. I feel like you just can't sleep together properly. And in this case, a lot of people just don't sleep in the same room and they do their own thing, and that's completely fine. Obviously, there is a lot of people that can't do that and they need someone else to sleep with in order to fall asleep properly, and it sounds like that's kind of you. But at the end of the day, you have to have compromise in relationships and you have to find what works for the both of you. Obviously, on the spectrum of severity of relationship advice posts, yes, this is dumb, but I don't think that discounts the problem at all, and I think this is something that can snowball out of control if not managed properly. And now in the comments, there are many couples that do quite well sleeping in separate rooms. Raises hand. I need complete darkness and nothing but white noise. Also, I'm a light sleeper. My husband needs the background of a TV running, sleeps like a log, but then gets up at like 2 to 3 a.m. to do some of his hobbies. And he snores loudly, which will also keep me up. We simply cannot share a bedroom most days, vacations excluded, and it's just fine. Much better for the last 12 years of cohabitation than trying to adjust to each other's sleep needs and habits. Same setup here, except I'm the one who talks in my sleep and snores like a freight train, so my husband takes another room with the TV. Plus, I run hot and he runs cold, so we could never agree on temperature. I find it odd that you think it's perfectly fine to have a lot of interventions in place for you to be able to sleep, but you protested his own interventions so that he might sleep better. It sounds like you were very difficult to sleep with. He just wants to get some rest, which you are taking very personally. Quite a double standard. Opie, This right here is what you need to pay attention to. Your partner needs to sleep too, and you're coming off as super selfish by dismissing his needs completely. Honestly, if I were Caleb and my future wife who cocoons herself in sheets gets offended by my pillow barrier, I'd sleep in a separate room. The fact that he wants to marry you with all your crazy sleep crap is astounding. You have so many things set in place that must be done in order for you to get sleep, and I'm assuming that he respects that. He has a couple little things that help him sleep from all your crazy sleep crap, and you get your feelings all hurt and want to stop him from doing them. You sound unfair and selfish in that regard. If I were him, I would have kept the full-sized bed, got another full-sized bed, and had us sleep on separate sides of the room, but instead, he decided to be nice and just get a king with a pillow barrier. And now back up to the post, there is an edit. Okay, I get it. I'm a selfish monster and a deeply flawed, horrible person. I showed him the post and he got a good laugh out of me getting roasted. He appreciates your concern over his future following our upcoming marriage ceremony. From this day, the pillow barrier will forever go unharmed. I'm not out to ruin the guy's life. I just love when he holds me in his arms and the barrier gets in the way of that. Thanks all. And now onto the update. Hi Reddit. I'm giving an update since a bit has happened since my post, and I thought it might be an interesting update for anyone who remembers. I'm the crazy person who received a swift and unified response from Reddit that I was wrong in the situation. I can't link my post because it was locked and then removed, but long story short, my fiancé, now husband, had constructed a pillow barrier between us in bed. This was an escalation after he had requested we use separate covers. To this poor man's defense, it's because I'm a horrible person to sleep with. I'm violent and I talk, cry and scream at least a few nights a week. While the pillow barrier initially hurt my feelings because I love him and our cuddle time, the feedback I received was to not be so selfish and let the man do what he can to get his sleep. Some of you were kinder than others in packaging this response, but pretty much everyone agreed. There were a few posts, though, that mentioned that the sleeping troubles I have, oversensitivity to light, sound, heat, touch, sounded like a sensory processing disorder and suggested that I was autistic. It was hard for me to really consider that, given how old I am, 38, and would have hoped that it would have been caught by now. I'm no stranger to psychiatrists or therapy. Well, I started reading up on adult autism, and as I was reading typical symptoms, I swear my jaw was gaped open. All of these things I assumed were just quirks or otherwise unrelated characteristics of my personality were all strung together under one diagnosis. Sometimes being so nervous about when to speak up that when I end up not saying anything at all, I went 3 months after starting this new job without saying a word during meetings, and then crying afterwards because I thought I was stupid and didn't deserve the promotion. Difficulty coping with change, went into a deep depression after a new job, after engagement, after we bought a house, sensitivity to light, sound, smell, touch. I hate being touched or hugged by anyone other than my husband. Embarrassingly, I do make a lot of weird sounds and voices. I just thought that I was a little quirky, but I guess it's deeper than that. The thing that got me were autistic meltdowns. The entire reason I ever sought out therapy was because there were so many occasions where I honestly could not control my words or actions, totally blinded by emotion. I assumed this was some degenerate characteristic I inherited from my abusive father. Luckily for me, the worst it's ever come out has been as a snippy email or a bitchy interaction at work. Nothing to breach professionalism, but still, these things would get me so worked up, they'd consume me. I'd fixate on it for hours, sometimes days. Most times I wouldn't have an outburst, but keep it inside and be filled with a blind rage so strong, all I could do was hold my head and cry and wait for it to be over. I'd write scathing emails to people and then delete them, make up imaginary conversations where I really let them have it, and in general just stewed in my anger. It was so bad sometimes, I'd just shake and hold myself in my office to try and calm down. I started meeting with a psychiatrist to control that, which has been successful so far, I'm happy to say. Well, anyway, I told my therapist about all of this, and he referred me to a specialist, a child behavior specialist. It was a little embarrassing sitting in a waiting room designed for kids as a 38-year-old, but life goes on. We spent a while talking, and she asked a lot of questions, but ultimately decided that my behaviors and thoughts are consistent with ASD. It's rocking my world and a lot of my self-esteem, but at least it explains a lot. She mentioned there's a couple of medications that could help my symptoms, but I'm already on Wellbutrin and Xanax, and in regular therapy because of trauma I experienced and witnessed at a young age. My husband has been completely unfazed by all of this, at least. From his perspective, even if it's a new label for me, I've been able to piece together a decent life. I make good money working in a senior leadership position in a healthcare organization. I don't have many friends, but I do have a few. I love him more than anything, and with the help of my therapist, have spent the last year working on ways to show him how much I care and be a more present and loving partner. So there you go. Yes, I'm batshit crazy as many of you confirmed, but now I'm apparently autistic too. Oh, and the pillow barrier still stands. Thanks Reddit, I guess. And now in the comments, OP, he already knows you. This is just a label for a part of who you are, which he already knows. So you shouldn't be surprised that this isn't phasing him. Like if you were eating an ice cream flavor and liked it but didn't know the name, knowing the name doesn't change you liking it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first thought in his head was, sounds about right. And OP replies, yeah, pretty much. Don't feel bad about the child behavior specialist. I had to see one as well at 38, got diagnosed ADD. Made necessary changes to my life and I am doing much better. I'm 68 years old, and it was only 5 years ago that I was finally diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum. Now my sensory overload issues make a heck of a lot of sense. I never understood why I couldn't live with someone. It's because I could never relax. I'm autistic, suffer from PTSD, a lot of things give me sensory overload. I remember telling one partner that I just needed some time to myself, and he kept whining that it meant I didn't love him. I told another partner to just find a damn coloring book and get out of my face for about 2 hours. I could never understand why I couldn't go to the movies without feeling disoriented, not being able to drive after I left the movie. I could never understand why I couldn't go to a party and stay for more than a couple of hours. I could never understand why I couldn't have company until 11 at night, and then it took me hours to be able to wind down and go to sleep. Once you fully understand how your brain works and what's going on, it's easy to adjust and ask what you want in relationships. It's easier now for me to just explain to people that I feel overloaded and I need some quiet time. And I don't feel guilty about it anymore. And OP says, I just always assumed I was a strong introvert and needed time to recharge when I guess what I was experiencing was some type of sensory overload. When I was younger, I lived in Manhattan, and there were some nights out with friends and coworkers where something in me would just snap at some point in the night, and I'd have this anxious pressure forcing me to get the hell out and go hide in my quiet UES studio. I don't know, just a lot of the ways that I've reacted to things in my past are starting to make a little more sense. Our next post is titled, My father and stepmother died, leaving me, 19 male, and my stepsister, 8 female. My stepsister's father, who has previously never cared about her, is getting full custody and has told me he won't allow me to visit. Is there anything I can do? Hi, so my life is falling apart. As the title says, a few weeks ago, my father and my stepmother were killed in a car accident. They have been married for 7 years, and my stepmother had a daughter from a previous marriage who was 8 years old. I love her unconditionally, as if she were my own sister, and I would fight tooth and nail to keep her safe. She has no immediate family other than her father in the area, so he's going to receive full custody of her. I don't know if subjective opinions are allowed in posts like this, but this guy is an effing asshole. The reason my stepmother left him is because he was abusive, which was never reported to the police, but I know several people who have witnessed it firsthand, so it absolutely 100% happened. And the reason he was abusive was because my stepsister was born and he didn't want a child. As a result, he has never given a crap about her, never asked to see her, and has never wanted anything to do with her until now. I was at home with my stepsister a few days ago, and he knocked on the door. I opened it, and we had a really ugly conversation about what was going to happen to my stepsister now that her mother and my father were dead. I told him that if he did end up having custody, I would want to be seeing her as often as possible, as I consider her my family. He told me verbatim, "That's not gonna happen, son. I don't want my daughter spending time with half-caste blood." He's referring to the fact that my father is mixed race, and that I am too as a result. I slammed the door. I was absolutely livid, which brings me to this post. So basically, I have a few questions. First, can anything be done to stop him having custody? There are no police reports about his abuse, and his criminal record is clean by all the research I've completed. Second, at the very least, could I contend in a court that I have visiting rights to her? I'm not actually related to her, so I'm not sure what the standing is there. And third, if it's not possible to force allowed visits, is there any way I can straight up adopt my stepsister? I have an office job that pays well, so financial security wouldn't be a problem. I have an apartment of my own, and I would be 100% willing to be her full-time guardian. And edit, I want to make it absolutely clear that my sister does not want to live with her dad, and she says she wants to live with me. Thank you so much to anyone who responds to this. I'm at my wit's end, and I will do literally anything to keep my stepsister close to me, and I don't care about the cost. And now in the comments, I went through a similar situation when I was your age and did get full custody of my little sister. Please call a family law lawyer and they can help you navigate this. Don't hand over your sister to her dad, as he might be able to take her legally from you since the previous parenting plan wouldn't protect that from happening. Ask the lawyer about filing an emergency temporary parenting plan so you can have custody of your sister until this is all sorted out. Make sure your sister's school knows what's going on, and the school paperwork does not allow her dad to take her out of school. Also, call your local court and ask about legal aid services in your area, as some attorneys will take a case like this pro bono, so you won't have to pay anything. Good luck. Since your sister is under 18, she's entitled to Social C benefits until she turns 18 at least. If your stepmom ever worked, your sister will be getting a monthly or bi-weekly benefits check, which I'm sure her father is aware of, and likely is a significant amount of money over the next 8 years. Can that money be deposited into a bank account until she turns 18 that the father can't touch? If the father gets custody, he would be allowed to use the money for her expenses, sort of like child support. It's possible to set things up so that the inheritance goes into a trust for the child that's overseen by someone other than the parent/guardian. OP should talk to an estate lawyer about it. The trustee would still have to approve reasonable expenses for the child's care, but the father wouldn't just have free rein to bleed the account dry. It might be relevant if your father legally adopted your stepsister. If her father did not have any custody or visitation, he might have agreed to that to get out of child support. Is it possible he only wants custody to get his hands on part of some inheritance that might be coming your sister's way? I thought about the inheritance, but I'm aware of a rough figure, and it honestly isn't a whole lot. Although my sister's father doesn't know that, so he might be thinking it's a lot of money. And now, onto the update. So after one of the most stressful months of my life, I can happily tell you all that I got custody of my stepsister. I did as many of you suggested and got a family lawyer who was one of the most kind and helpful people I have ever met in my life. I told her the circumstances of my stepmom and dad's death through tears and sobbing, and then she told me she would do everything she possibly could to help me. After my stepsister's bio dad was informed that I would be trying to get full custody, he basically folded within hours. The lawyer told me that it wouldn't have mattered anyway though. She said that because he hadn't visited her for such an extended period of time, that it was considered abandonment in the eyes of the law, and the likelihood of him specifically getting custody was unlikely because of this. After her bio dad said he didn't want my stepsister, I then spent weeks and weeks filling out the right papers and seeing the right people. I have never signed so many things in my entire life. Because my stepsister had no biological family other than her craphead dad, I was given custody on a silver platter, according to my lawyer. Her bio dad didn't ask for visitation rights, and it appears he didn't even care in the first place. He just wanted my stepsister for no reason other than to further upset me. Yesterday, I signed the last piece of paper that confirmed that I had 100% custody of my stepsister. After I signed, we both cried and cried for hours. We are both working on processing the death of her mom and my dad. As I write this, she's asleep next to me with her head on my shoulder. The past 2 months have hands down been the worst of my entire life. I consider meeting my stepsister the best thing that has ever happened to me, and adopting her is the single best decision I have ever made. These events have made me realize that family isn't just DNA-based, it's actionable investments in the life of someone you love. Thank you so much for all of the people who helped me in my first thread. I owe all of you for the rest of your lives. Once I turn 21, if any of y'all are in the Aberdeen area, drinks are on me. I hope you all lead wonderful lives. Give your loved ones a big hug for me. And now in the comments, POS father probably backed down as soon as he understood that he would have to put in a little effort to get custody. I'm happy for OP. I'd be willing to bet he thought that he'd somehow inherit the daughter's portion of OP's parents' will/estate. I didn't think of that, but I bet you are absolutely right. He thought she was going to come along with an insurance policy. A 19-year-old making a decision that many adults couldn't or wouldn't make. I am rooting so hard for him, as I can only imagine the challenges he faces, not to mention the challenges his stepsister faces too. My brother-in-law adopted his younger brother, who was in middle school at the time, after their parents died, dropped out of college to get a full-time job with benefits to provide for him, spent his full inheritance buying a house for them, but never touched his brother's share of the money, got his little brother through college, and then finally went back to finish himself. His brother is doing great now with a family of his own, and it's all thanks to my brother-in-law's huge sacrifices. Edit to add, the inheritance was the insurance payouts from the death of both parents. He used it to put a down payment on a modest house for him and his brother and my sister. They were just dating at the time. I have to give my sister credit here too. She helped raise her now husband's younger brother as well. I went to his extracurricular activities, helped him with his schoolwork, etc. The brother did get scholarships to college, used his insurance payout money wisely, and is now doing great in life. This is so lovely. I'm really wondering what the end game of the bio-dad was though. If OP hadn't put up a fight, he'd have ended up with the daughter, which he clearly didn't want, seeing as he never visited her or had anything to do with her, so what exactly would he have won? It just feels like a lot to do to upset OP or take one final swipe against his ex once she was dead. Feels like it would have been a Pyrrhic victory. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.